Welcome back to the CoDaKrew podcast. Today we are doing our predictions for match day 4 of the 2025-26 Premier League. And for anyone who's new here and doesn't know how this works, essentially me and Swapnil are doing a competition to see how well we can predict the Premier League matches this season. And the way it works is that you get 1 point for the correct prediction, so win, loss, or draw, 2 points if you get the right margin, and 3 points if you get the exact perfect scoreline. So right now I have a slight lead, 27-25, but it's obviously still early, and I basically said off the pot to Swapnil that I think this is the week where the prediction really truly begins, because there have been several key things that happened. Obviously, international break, we covered some videos on that, but most importantly for this, I think it's the transfer window has finally closed. Several key deadline day or approaching deadline day deals that are dramatically changing the landscape for our predictions that have not been in effect so far. And also, for shocking reasons, I think it was financial, because I wouldn't understand the reason if it's just based on form. Nuno Espirito Santo, the coach of Nottingham Forest, that got them from absolute underdogs to a Europa League spot last year, has just been sacked, and he's being replaced by Ange Postecoglou, of all people. So that's going to bring us right into our first match. How will Ange do, Big Ange, as his first game as the new manager of Nottingham Forest in a very, very tough fixture away at the Emirates?
Yeah, I'm just going to get straight into Nottingham. I mean, obviously, that last match weekend brought only frustration for them because they had those three late goals and collapsed to a 3-0 defeat versus West Ham, of all teams, and it was at home, which makes it even worse. And so I guess it proved the final straw for Nuno, who was dismissed shortly after, maybe because Forest's owner Marinakis really seems to like Ange. I'm sure that made a difference too, so now he's stepping in to take charge. And it is a dramatic shift in direction because Forest are going to be hoping that Postecoglou's high tempo, front foot football can spark some confidence in this team, which has looked a bit disjointed and flat at times. I think Dan Ndoye's runs provided early promise against West Ham, but a lack of end product from Gibbs White, Hudson Odoi, and Chris Wood left Forest unfortunately toothless once more. And that late defensive collapse did not do them any favors, obviously. The attack couldn't do much, neither could the defense towards the end. Um, Postecoglou, he's inheriting a side that is a bit low on form, but I think he has a good track
I mean,
record of
it's
energizing
one game.
teams.
Are we really like? I'm gonna have to interrupt because like here's the thing. I don't see how this can be anything other than, I guess, like, political would be the way I describe it. We've known for a while that there have been disputes between how the finances are being managed. Nuno has been angry with the board, and like basing this off of one loss, one tough loss where the team played decently for the first 80 minutes. After, they won their first game, they drew away from home against Crystal Palace. This one loss, it seems way too convenient. It seems much more like an excuse to fire him rather than they're genuinely concerned about the form. Because
Yeah,
I
I
just don't
agree.
see, like, logically, there's no reason that this one match would turn your star-studded, like, wildly overachieving manager into someone that you think should somehow be sacked, especially after you've gotten him the players he's wanted, and we've actually seen the effects of that.
Yeah, I think Ange getting kicked out of Spurs definitely pushed Marinakis to make this decision, and you're right, he was probably looking for any excuse, to be honest. But I mean, the squad is gonna have to adapt here. I think it would have been pretty good to keep Nuno around for a while. I agree with you. I don't really see the reason to kick him out just off of this one match. But the deal is done, and I think if you do need a manager to try and turn a team around, Ange is definitely a good guy to do it. Though
There's no turning around here. There's no. Nottingham are
it's
objectively in
what
a good position right now.
they lost to West Ham though. I'm
It's
sorry.
one game. It's
It is
one
one. It
game.
is one game, but it's a West Ham loss at home at the City Ground. I don't know. It's
Okay.
not the kind of game you want, but I agree. It's only 3 days into the season. International break too, so form can definitely change after like 2 weeks gap. I think yeah, Ange will maybe need a little bit of time to adapt his aggressive style here. Could make a difference in this game, the fact that it's the first one he's coming in for, but I think Nottingham will be pretty well off with him in charge. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he does fit the personnel well. To be fair, like it is one of those situations where, honestly, similar to Ange himself, I don't agree with the sacking, but I think if you want to get a new guy, Ange, I think, does fit the system pretty decently. I think, yeah, like, you do have, he likes to have high he does like to have highline defenders. He likes to have center backs that are good at passing in transition, which I think does fit Milan Milinkovic quite well. So I see the vision there. You also have players like Dan Ndoye and Hudson Odoi can also play like the Brennan Johnson role of having to cut back. So having to cut back like far post. So I do see it. Like I understand why he was chosen, but I think it's his first match. Yes, I know there's international break, so maybe there's a little bit more time, but even not really, because flight times. It's not like these players, a lot of them at least, were off during this time. So it's going to be an adjustment period, and I think in this very first match against Arsenal, it's going to be very difficult to get a result. I mean, this is like clearly a top two team in England right now. They just looked very solid against Liverpool, the defending champions. Only lost to like a Szoboszlai, literally perfect free kick. They say
Worldly.
Declan Rice's free kick was
Absolute worldly.
perfect. That I don't even, bro. That's actually unsavable. So yeah, I just see this is going to be very difficult for Nottingham. I know Saka's gone, but Madueke was one of Arsenal's clearly weakest players on the pitch, and Eze is probably going to be starting now. So I think it just balances out. And also, like, I know Saliba's gone, but also they just got, I think, Kinkape, right? Basically deadline day. They just look way too solid. I don't see how Nottingham can compete, at least right away.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it's a big change for Nottingham, but we shouldn't ignore Arsenal either, because they were honestly pretty disciplined against Liverpool. You could definitely make an argument that they were the better playing side. Even as a Liverpool fan, I do think that like we did not play especially great. Neither did they. So I don't know. It's just battle of the shitty with that last game there. But I don't know. It's decided by a moment of brilliance from Soboslai. Not much they can really do. But though, like I said, they were defensively compact, pretty disciplined in the back line, they only managed like zero point 0.4 XG of their own. So their own chance creation was not especially great. They struggled to generate shots from open play, despite those attacking reinforcements. Though, to be fair, again, you can make that critique of Liverpool as well. Gyökeres looked isolated. Martinelli and Madueke were largely kept quiet, and I think one of the only few promising moments was spurned by Eberechi Eze, who of course made his debut. And like you said, he probably will start in this match. I think it is a team that, well, in that last match anyway, they felt strong everywhere except the final third. And that is exactly what Arteta is going to want to sharpen here against certainly a less formidable opponent in Forest.
Yeah, so I think, look, this is pretty clear to me. I'm just going to say it right here. I don't see how Forest can compete in this match. And honestly, the fact that Saliba and Saka are out is what's preventing me from being even more crude here. But I'm sorry, Nottingham, you're not ready yet. I'm going to just go Arsenal, pretty clean 2-0 win. I just don't see how Forest can get a result here.
Well, we're off to a great start. Yeah. So, like you said, Saka gone, Saliba gone, but Arsenal they're still coming in this with the structure and control. They can absolutely dominate this side, especially since Forest will need to adjust to Ange's tactics after Nuno's exit. And yeah, I also have a 2-0 for Arsenal here. You can have Eze and Gyökeres providing the spark. Even with Saka absent and some other attackers maybe carrying knocks, I don't think they will go wild on Nottingham, but I also don't expect Forest to do too much chance creation, and I don't see them really getting anywhere close to a goal, to be honest. So, 2-0 for me.
Yeah, agree with you. And I think that just brings us to our next match, Bournemouth vs Brighton.
I mean, if we look at Iriola's side, Bournemouth shocked Spurs with that win in North London. They had sharp pressing, quick transitions, standout performances from Brooks Evanilson. They not only disrupted Tottenham's rhythm, but they carved out good chances of their own, enough to make the margin bigger. I mean, Semenyo got close. Brooks, I think, struck the bar. Senesi had an early assist, so that back line is looking much more assured. And despite a difficult summer,
Well, I would
for
say
Bournemouth,
offensively assured though, because I'm still a little bit worried about
yeah,
the
I
defensive
should,
facility.
sorry, offensively, I should say. Yeah, defense may be a little questionable with some of the other matches we've seen from them. But despite a difficult summer with departures, the Cherries are proving very resilient. I mean, we saw they had that comeback against Liverpool before we scored 2 extra goals. So they are always in these games, and they have shown that they can frustrate and hurt opponents in big moments. And they didn't get the 3 points against Liverpool, but they did get them against Spurs, and so they are looking very threatening for sure.
Yeah, but I think we can say this the exact same thing basically about Brighton. They also upset a an even better team, and I would argue they looked even better than Bournemouth did. I think I would honestly say Brighton was probably the better team in that match. Um, not to discount what Bournemouth has done. I think we have seen like players like Alex Scott, Brooks really fit into the system. They're really like a lot of mid-table teams in the Prem nowadays. It feels like whenever you lose somebody big, there's always someone who's like there to fill in the gaps. There's just so much quality in this league now. And at the same time, I can say the same thing about Brighton. Not so much with new players, but they continue to show how good they can be. You know, with Weifer, with O'Reilly, players like that that are willing to push up and still stay defensively disciplined. The fact that they have such a strong midfield, and yet those amazing wingers in Matoma and especially Minte, who, by the way, I think he has something like 3.7 successful dribbles a game so far in the Premier League on 80% accuracy. So easily so far one of the best wingers in the entire league we've seen. And that was obviously a massive exploit for City. City basically has the same issue that you guys do in that they push up their fullback so high that it can cause a huge problem in transition. And while I don't think Bournemouth pushes up their fullbacks as high, although they still actually do, to be fair, uh, again, like as we said, Bournemouth is still defensively quite questionable. They're not very good at dealing with crosses. They don't. Some of their players are not the best in 1v1 dribbling situations, and I do think Brighton will get a lot of chances because of this.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, you look at that Brighton match, James Milner really rolled back the years from the penalty spot. I mean, this is like you said, it is a strong roster. We see that throughout the Prem. Even the old players do pretty well for themselves, and there's lots of new guys coming in for these teams too. We had Brian Gruda seal the win late on off of that incision on the left from Kaoru Mitoma to create that decisive breakthrough. And Brighton's capacity to switch gears so dramatically will definitely boost their belief in the team after a tricky start to the campaign. I mean, they endured, I think, back-to-back defeats prior. So the Seagulls' fight back against the very not current champions, but often champions, really underlines the depth of their attacking weapons and the flexibility of their manager as well.
Yeah, I think this is a for Hertzler, this is a massive confidence boost. I think if they lost this match, they would be in a basically similar boat as Aston Villa, like a team that we know can be really good, but this has, for whatever reason, not been able to figure it out so far. And obviously, the longer that goes on, the more and more of a problem it is. So I'm glad they're getting the, I guess, nerves, new players, new tactics, sort of out of their system early. Because I can also see that with like players like De Kuiper, especially immediately going into that new role as a starting left back on a very solid team in the Premier League. I think we have definitely seen Brighton start to. I don't want to overcount on one game, but I think even like in the games that they didn't get great results in, I think we're really starting to see a cohesion. We're starting to see a tactical identity with the squad again. And I would just say that while we could say something similar with Bournemouth to an extent, like they are excellent at counters. We saw against Liverpool. They have players that can make key passes. I just think that Brighton are such a defensively solid and yet offensively great in transition squad that I just imagine that they'll get a lot more chances. So this is like my classic thing where I think one team will get a few good chances throughout the game, but the other team will be a lot more consistent. And whenever that happens, I always predict a 2-1 for the team that is going to be more consistent, and that will be Brighton for this match.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think this match feels like a one match where both sides' strengths will largely cancel each other out. I mean, Bournemouth, like you said, going to be looking for those transitions. They'll lean on Semenyo, Evan Nilsson to stretch Brighton's backline. But yeah, Brighton has got a very strong defense, and they also have the directness of players like Matoma and Minte that can tilt momentum their way at a moment's notice, really, especially if they do find their rhythm in those wide areas. I think the Cherries' pressing energy will keep this from being completely one-way traffic. Again, it'll be a back and forth match, but Brighton's ability to circulate the possession and unleash late game threats like Welbeck, again, just like at a moment's notice, suggests that they will always be a danger throughout this game. They will, like you said, consistently be showing goal scoring threat. And I am going to say actually a 1-1 here. I don't think either team will quite get ahead. I think they're honestly pretty equal looking at their match histories, how they've played recently. It's kind of hard to say with international break as it is for all of these teams. 2 weeks can change teams quite a decent bit. But yeah, I think it'll be a lively but balanced contest, and I'm going to say it's a Bournemouth 1, Brighton 1.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I this was definitely a match where I was considering putting a draw. The only reason I haven't was that I do think that Brighton, like a big concern for me was has been their finishing so far, and I think they're starting to show signs of improving on that. Even though, I mean, as I alluded to earlier, they were really good against City. They actually wasted a few chances, I would argue. Not even wasted. I think James Trafford just had a really good game. That's probably a better way of putting it. Uh, but yeah, I do think Brighton, like statistically, they are going to have a regression to the mean, and that's why I have a win. But I see the draw as well. But yeah, moving on then, I think we have two squads that are big storylines, let's say, for the average Prem fan right now. Because Crystal Palace has lost Eze, put in Deveni, a largely unknown person to the public, unless you're a Crystal Palace fan, and they almost lost Gehi, but they bailed on that Liverpool deal last second. I must feel for Gehi, man. A guy who, despite having wanted to leave, having been told he will get that transfer, he still gave 110% for Crystal Palace. He scored in that last match, by the way. Absolute screamer. This guy's doing his job, and now last second he's been absolutely rug pulled. So gotta feel for the guy. And as for Sunderland, they are continuing to show that they are not the pushovers that several people thought they were. They are now 6 points from 9 games in the Prem. An absolutely flying start for the team that both of us said was going to finish 20th place. So,
We did.
yeah, that prediction is not looking so good right now. But that being said, man, a lot of things we could talk about here. A lot of directions we could take this. Where do you want to start?
I'll start off with Sunderland. Honestly, they showed massive character to come from behind, snatch that late winner against Brentford. Isidore's stoppage time header sparked wild scenes, and I mean it was a home game. Stadium of Light is always great, right? And yeah, they just have so much energy. Pretty good attacking depth, especially for a promoted team. Defensively, I think there could be some concerns. I know Ballard is off here, so that's going to be for sure
Yeah.
an issue for them. O'Neill might be doubtful as well, so they could be thin at center half. Against a Palace attack that is pretty strong, thrives on aerial power too. But even so, the Black Cats' ability to stretch play through like Talby, Mandava on the wings makes them a constant threat in transition. And I think we are going to see a lot more of that here, just as we have in the last 3 match weeks.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I think the big concern is Sunderland basically don't have any more center backs that are like decent as far as I'm aware. If Alderete or Mukele gets out, I think Mukele has actually been pretty solid so far from the one match I've seen from him. Alderete, I wouldn't say he's the most consistent, but he can provide those crosses. He can help out with Sunderland's strong aerial threat. And honestly, I wouldn't be too worried about the defense, assuming that these guys stay healthy, because we are seeing again Eze is lost. I'm not trying to knock on Deveni, but that's a big downgrade. And Ismail Assar as well could potentially be out, and that could also be quite harmful for Palace's attack. I mean, it would make them quite reliant on Mateta, who, yes, he is a number nine who is willing to drop back. He definitely can help out in the offense in transition. I think that also then puts a little bit less pressure on the opposition defense, and so I have a little bit of concern there. But I think for me, Crystal Palace just look like the better team. They seem to have more of a control here in that yes, there's question marks for how will Palace score against Sunderland. I just don't see how Sunderland scores against Palace because their whole thing is like aerial dominance, right? Well, Palace's back three is Mark Gahey and Chris Richards, two of the most aerially strong defenders in the league, and Maxence Lacroix, who is no pushover in that department either. Gahey, Richards, Lacroix all have 66 or higher percent dual percentages. I think, yeah, Gahey's on 75, Richards is on 83. So absolute brick walls, absolute stalwarts out there in the back. And I also think a big factor, I mean, as you were saying, to Sunderland's wins is just the fact that it's the Stadium of Light, in that they're just that much better, that much scrappier at home. And now they're going away to a Palace side who also has that effect, only in their favor, in their home stadium. So I think that yeah, the chips are pretty stacked against Sunderland here.
Yeah, and I mean, for Palace, Gahey's commanding display and that stunning goal has reinforced just how central he is to their identity. along with the other two in that back line, Richards and LaCroix. And despite the fact that he will need to reintegrate with the squad a bit, there will no doubt be issues between him and Glasner. That steadiness, being able to keep that steadiness at the back is a huge boost for this team, not having to find some sort of replacement for him like they had to do for Eze. But there are still headaches elsewhere. Adam Wharton was forced off at Villa Park, and he is still in doubt. If he remains out, Palace lose perhaps their most reliable midfield connector. I think Doucouré is still on a long-term absence. Ismaila Sarr could be questionable. But still, like, their players look sharp. Mateta looks sharp up front. Dean Henderson is definitely imposing himself with big saves whenever Palace come under pressure. So despite that not great injury list, keeping Gahey means Palace are coming in here with a pretty strong roster. And given Sunderland's got a weakened team sheet too, I don't think Palace should have too many issues here, players-wise. So I'm definitely going to agree with you that, especially at home with that fan energy, they have got the advantage coming into here.
Yeah, I think even if they lose, this is the thing. Like Palace have so much depth, right? Even if they lose Sar and and Wharton, and let's say Cheek Decore is still out. I think Cheek Decore actually is still out, but these other two are definitely questionable. You could do something like, for example, pushing Daichi Kamada forward to like that right forward position. You have Will Hughes, who is absolutely solid, and then you still have Jefferson Lerma, who's also a very solid number 8. They have so many numbers they can play in there, and so I just don't think it's that much of an issue compared to how it is for other teams. Even though Adam Wharton is absolutely extremely underrated. I mean, Madrid wanted him for goodness sake. It's not like a crazy downgrade compared to what it would be for a lot of other teams. Like we're gonna talk about Everton afterwards. Losing Jared Branthwaite, that's a massive downgrade. Losing Adam Wharton, similar level player, but at least they actually have other guys that they can slot in there that still tactically fit the system and that are still very solid. So yeah, for me, I just don't see how Sunderland score. I think they're going to really struggle away from home. And this could be one of those matches where, similar to Burnley, like maybe they don't look terrible, but they just concede a few too many chances, and that just ends up leading to another team who is clinical, who is able to take advantage of that, and who's able to get the win. So I'm actually going to go with the same scoreline as that Burnley match and say Palace win this one 2-0.
Okay, yeah. So, like you said, Palace, they're definitely in a solid place right now. Sharp up front, settled at the back with Gahey staying put as well. And Sunderland's late fight showed character in that game against Brentford, but their away form is still troubling. They definitely rely, I think, too much on the atmosphere in the Stadium of Light. And the 2-0 loss to Burnley in particular underlined how blunt they can look when they are on the road. So, with a weakened defense and a tendency to fade when they do not have the home crowd pushing them on, I expect that Palace will be able to take control of this game, create the clear chances. I don't think Sunderland will get very many clear chances at all here. And so, yeah, I've got to agree with you. I'm going to match the score line in their last away game, and it will be a 2-0 loss for Sunderland or 2-0 win for Palace.
Yeah, fair enough. And so that's going to bring us to match number 4. This one, I think, we always talk about match of the week. Obviously, match of the week, hypothetically, the title will be obviously the Manchester Derby. But I always say that there's another match that I think the real football fans, the tacticos, will be more interested in. And this time it is this one right here, Everton vs Villa.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll start with Everton, and there's one player that you've got to be excited about, of course, and that's Jack Grealish. Moyes' side have rarely hit the ground running thanks to his creativity and movement, which we've already seen reshape Everton's attack. And his combination play with Beto, Dewsbury Hall, and Jai has produced constant forward momentum, and his ability as well to drift inside or stretch wide gives Everton multiple attacking angles. It is a wonderful addition for them, honestly. And the midfield is functioning well in transition. They're recycling possession efficiently while pressing high. Pickford is commanding as always. Patterson providing good width on the flank. Even with Wolves pushing late last time, Everton's ability to regain shape quickly allowed them to control the closing stages. And though they only were a goal up, only a margin of 1 goal, I never thought that they were especially in danger of conceding an equalizer. And yeah, the squad, they are brimming with energy, brimming with confidence. Great all around, and Moyes has got multiple threats here to rotate through the front line and really keep Aston Villa guessing.
Dude, the biggest thing about Jack Grealish, everyone talks about how he has 4 assists already, and that's like double what he got last year the entire season. I want to point out this man has won 6.3 ground duels a game. Jack Grealish, not exactly a player you think of for having the highest work rate, but we have absolutely seen his amazing scrappiness for this Villa squad, bro. It's almost as if when a player actually cares about the badge, he tries harder or something. I don't know. Crazy theory. Call me a conspiracist here. But anyways, yeah, he just fits so well with the team, man. I mean, you have Ilman and Jai, who is like basically a Brennan Johnson equivalent this season, and he fits the bill really well. He is great at finishing off of those chances. We have players like Dewsbury Hall, who are doing really well, 1-2, fitting up with Jack Grealish. I think Hall has 2.5 key passes a game so far. And even Jordan Pickford. I mean, I've talked about how like losing Tarkovsky has been a big defensive loss. Like they're now like conceding crosses that they shouldn't be. They have like basically zero box presence. The reason that has been a disaster for them so far is because Pickford right now has already conceded 1.61 less goals than he should based on his expected goals on target. I think I want to say on every single game he's actually been able to do better than expected statistically. I'm not sure if that's true, but he's absolutely been very, very solid for them. And against the Villa side, who, mind you, have not scored yet, despite having over 2.5 XG in these 3 games, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried for Villa here.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Pickford is consistent, and Villa are consistent too in that they get XG and they just cannot take advantage of it.
They are consistently unable to score. That's what Villa
They
are.
have struggled for rhythm in the final third. Emery's attacking structure is still dependent on inverted wingers, the sporadic movement of Watkins, McGinn. Gassan could provide some width on the left, some penetration, but they have issues, I think, with central congestion, and it really limits their opportunities. And yeah, their lack of goals so far is only adding to the pressure. I mean, you have in midfield, John McGinn is tasked with all the linking play, but a lack of supporting runners can rarely isolate him against a good structured press, which I think Everton can definitely do. Defensively, Villa are pretty compact, but they are vulnerable to quick transitions. Emi Martinez has been pretty solid in goal, but the fullbacks will need to stay alert against Everton's overlapping runs. But honestly, I can't blame too much on the back line. Overall, Villa has just been a very reactive side so far, and while, like you said, front the front attackers have gotten some XG on the board, they just have not been able to finish. It has looked poor all around. There's not been nearly enough coming from the attackers these last few games. And it is definitely not where Emery wants to be after just barely missing Champions League at the end of last season.
Yeah, big issue for them. I think like John McGinn is such a great example of somebody who his impact cannot be seen on the stat screen. Last season, I don't know how many goals he was the assister of the assist to. I think it was quite a few, but he did not get a lot of actual assists. But you know what that was last season? There were players like Rashford, like Asensio. There were just, I guess, more options offensively in general that were able to take advantage of the key chance that he creates, and if not turn it into a goal, turn it into an easy opportunity for like an Ollie Watkins or whoever to score that goal. But now it feels like that link that was once there to help John McGinn is now no longer on the squad anymore. Like they don't have Asensio anymore. They don't have Rashford anymore. They just sold one of their wingers to Newcastle. I can't remember his name right now, but it just feels like Villa have a lot less depth. And even though like the quality, the talent is still there in theory, it does definitely feel like they're missing a player on the offense. Like they do look to me. There was like a stretch in the season where Chelsea last year seemed like they were just all individual. There was no team cohesion on the offense. That's kind of what I'm seeing from Villa's attack right now. And that's quite concerning to me. I would still give them a goal in this match though because of Everton's, that back line quite questionable, but it's a big worry for Villa. It's a big concern.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about in some of our preseason videos, like when we made our table, how Villa not getting UCL really screwed them financially, and so they had to let go of Rashford, had to let go of Asensio. I think Jacob Ramsey is who they sold to Newcastle
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So it was not a great window at all for them. And yeah, Everton have just looked lively in attack, the exact opposite of Villa. Grealish likely soon to become the heartbeat of their forward play. But like you said, Everton's defensive frailties have been exposed too, particularly with that 3-2 versus Wolves. And Villa, meanwhile, are going to still be desperate to actually open their account this season. And the front three of Watkins, McGinn, Gisson will be trying to exploit any gaps in Everton's defensive structure, which, to be fair, there are a few. So expect a lot of end-to-end movement, the attackers going wild on both these teams. Everton will press high, Villa will want to counter quickly, and given Everton's high-risk defending and Villa's clear need to finally find the net at any cost, I think we will see a high-scoring game, and I'm actually going to say both teams split the points here 2-2.
Damn. Okay. You see, if Villa were maybe better at finishing, that would be my exact scoreline. But because
Yeah,
they are
fair
not,
enough.
I'm gonna say 2-1. I'm gonna say they get one less goal than you say. But I basically agree with all of your analysis. I think it's gonna be a very even end-to-end game, very similar amount of chances created on both of these squads. But on one of them, you have like fullbacks that are able to score from 40 feet out, and on the other hand, you have a squad that hasn't scored a goal yet. So I'm gonna have to give it to Everton.
Yeah, no, not unreasonable. With that, I guess we can go to Fulham, who is hosting Leeds at Craven Cottage, and both sides here are looking for crucial points after pretty mixed starts to the season.
Yeah, so for Leeds, I think they actually haven't lost a match in Ellen Road for over a year, so they look quite solid from home at least. But on the road, it's a completely different story. Massacred 5-0 by Arsenal, although it is Arsenal, so maybe, not to look too much into it. But I'm quite worried for them for this match because they've lost Lucas Perry, the goalkeeper that they brought during the offseason to hold it down for them. They don't have Tanaka and they don't have Impadu, who are key to the midfield, not only in transition, but also defensively solid. And to make matters worse for them, their opponent, Fulham, had just gotten back one of the best fullbacks in this league in Anthony Robinson. So all the cards are stacked against Leeds' favor here because this match, beyond what I just said, is going to be in Craven Cottage.
Yeah, I mean, Leeds, they showed resilience in their draw with Newcastle, despite, of course, missing out Tanaka, one of their most influential midfielders on the pitch. But yeah, Perry has been solid in goal. He's gone now. Um, Longstaff did impress in midfield with some combative tackling, good work rate, helping the team maintain their balance without Tanaka. But I just don't know that that's going to hold the whole time. You do still have, I think, in Mecha leading the front line, supported by Aronson, Jack Harrison as well off the bench to inject some energy. But yeah, the absence of Tanaka is not great. It will definitely limit their ability to control the midfield. We might see some more long balls, them getting a bit desperate to get the ball up the pitch. And it will be hard to effectively link play from back to front. And so I think we will see quite a bit less chance production from them than we normally would.
Yeah, and even like disregarding that, I think I'm just quite worried about their finishing ability. Like it's not Aston Villa level bad, but I mean I remember that Everton game, they really struggled to convert their chances.
Oh
And I
yeah,
think
they were pretty dominant to start off that match. I think I said last
yeah,
time,
pretty
but
dominant, and they needed
couldn't find the
a
net. Yeah.
basically last minute penalty. So that's quite concerning for me. And meanwhile, like you have this Fulham squad. I know they have just lost Pereira in the transfer window, but I'm not even sure that's necessarily a bad thing because it does mean Emil Smith Rowe gets who I by the way I think should absolutely be a starter for them. It does get him more time necessarily. And we do have young guys, especially Josh King, who are maturing into the squad more. He's already so intelligent. He has the football IQ. He knows where to run, and I think he's only going to get better. And yeah, I just think this is a prime example where someone like him could cook, someone like Smith Rowe can cook, where Fulham really shows the cards that they're able to have, and kind of like Arsenal did a little bit, maybe go a little bit experimental, not to disrespect Leeds too much, but this feels like the match to do it.
Yeah, I mean Fulham, they will probably be trying to exploit those quick transitions. You can have King running in behind Muniz providing hold up support, and they will be looking for all the moments they can find to break Leeds' shape and just keep it broken, keep Leeds chasing them essentially. Leeds will definitely do their best to sit compact. They have Bogle on the flank to try and stretch Fulham, create some crossing opportunities. But again, midfield control going to be a real issue for them. Again, Tanaka being gone just makes such a big difference for this team, honestly. They'll be relying on counters, but they are just going to have some real trouble pushing that ball up the pitch. And so they will be need to look for defensive solidity because I don't think Leeds will get much of a chance to score here. I think most of the opportunities here will be for Fulham.
Yeah, I think I agree here. Essentially, like there is there is a world where Leeds maybe gets a couple of good chances. But again, I just don't see how they're able to score. And I don't really have a lot to say for this match. I just think Fulham will dominate. I think Fulham will get more chances. And they just have the quality, man. I mean, Iwobi, uh, Smith Rowe, Josh King, you know, Raul Jimenez. I'm even going off. I'm going off the dome here. I don't even have notes for this match really because I don't really know what to say. I just think Fulham will just take control, and I think they're gonna get a solid 2-0 win.
And unfortunately, I have the same scoreline as you again. Yeah, King and Muniz are going to find moments for sure to trouble Leeds' backline. They will get a lot more space in the midfield. And I see Berg helping Fulham keep enough control in midfield to keep this game largely in their control. I trust Leeds to create some chances. I just don't see them finishing those chances. And Fulham's ability to turn quick breaks and set pieces into goals will give them the edge here. And whether it is a 2-0 or maybe Leeds manages to convert something and they find a 2-1, I expect Fulham to come away with all 3 points here, for sure.
Yeah, so I think we are. I think that's going to just bring us on to our next match then, and that is going to be another interesting affair. I think, especially because of Newcastle. Finally, the Isak problem is done and dealt with. He is gone, and they have brought in not one but two new strikers in Voltemade and Vissa, the two Ws up front for them. I wonder how they will be doing in their first match against Wolves. I think there's quite a big range of reasonable opinions to have on this match.
Yeah, it seems like Newcastle could be adjusting pretty well to life without Isak. Wissa likely leading the line for this particular match with Woltemade there as his understudy, and Wissa brings a proven Premier League goal scoring threat. He netted 19 non-penalty goals last season, and his ability to get on the end of balls in the box was crucial for Brentford, will surely be crucial for Newcastle. You have Jacob Murphy, who remains a key outlet down the right, while you also Kieran Trippier offering width and delivery from the fullback position. And yeah, I think it is a very strong team. It's looking like offensively, despite obviously not having their star striker around anymore. And you've got players like Lewis Hall, Anthony Elanga ready to provide fresh legs and attacking support. Nick Pope too to marshal the back line, tasked with keeping Wolves' forwards in check. And I mean, I've talked about Wolves' roster. I had them getting relegated this season. They are definitely in some real trouble in this early season, and they will continue, I think, to have problems finding scoring opportunities here.
Yeah, I think the biggest question mark here is not even really Wolves. I think it's what's going to happen with the new system for Newcastle. Because typically when you bring in a new striker or just really a new player in general, like Arsenal brought in Eze, who was better than Martinelli clearly, but Martinelli started that first match and Eze got on the bench because there's an adjustment period. Uh, I expect the same thing will happen with Isak. Ekatike will start because even if Isak is the long-term starter, there's an adjustment period. Well, who there's no like guy that's there already to rotate and adjust onto because Newcastle have switched both of their strikers. So I think they have quite a solid squad. Obviously, Gordon is suspended, Joelinton's hurt, but they can always just switch to a 3-4-3. And I think the big question is how will Voltemade fit into the system, assuming he is the starter, which I think he will be. Although I guess you could argue maybe Wissa has more Prem experience. I don't know. But the point is, I'm not sure about the chance conversion for Nottingham, or sorry, Newcastle right away. So even though I think they will get the majority of the chances, I'm not sure about their clinicality. But I think the biggest key for them to winning this match is to just make sure that they don't concede. I don't see how they won't score at some point, but I think because especially if they switch to a 3-4-3, they will be so defensively solid. You know, you're adding Dan Burn to that lineup. You have two fullbacks who, while being able to push up, they also have defensive discipline. That's going to be like the biggest issue. Like Wolves loves to play in transition, loves to go on a counterattack. If they're able to contain that, which I think they will do a decent job of, I think they should be able to comfortably, maybe not on the score sheet, but the way it plays out, comfortably control this match.
Yeah, and with Wolves, I know Strand Larson is absent, which really limits their attacking options, and so they're going to need players like Hwang Hee-chan and Rodrigo Gomez to really step up here. The midfielders like Manetzi, Bellegarde will be key in linking play and supporting counterattacks. But with Wolves' defense already showing quite a few vulnerabilities, going on the counter is going to be a very uncomfortable affair. I know Jose Sa is still a pretty reliable presence in goal, but yeah, there is still quite a bit of attacking threat coming from this Newcastle side against a very all over the place Wolves backline, to be honest. And so with the backline maybe not being able to hold up, I think the pressure's on the attacking players here to deliver for this team that is really still searching for their rhythm right now.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go straight in then. I think, like I said, I think Newcastle get the majority of the chances here. They're not going to be the most clinical, but I think they'll be able to contain Wolves' transition offense. And because of that, I'm just going to go with a very close, but they get the job done 1-0 win for Newcastle.
1-0 for me as well. Yeah, Newcastle will finally find their rhythm with Wissa leading the line. He offers a clear threat inside the box, and with Murphy continuing to attack down the right, they have enough quality for sure to unlock Wolves' defense. And yeah, Wolves, they've really struggled to score, and now they're without Strand Larson. They've lacked a reliable outlet up front. And so Newcastle's defense, I think, will be more than enough for the remaining attackers on this Wolves side. So they'll just dominate possession, probe for openings, and yeah, like you said, eventually I do expect them to find a goal, and so I'm going to say they also win 1-0.
All right, well, then that brings us to our next match. I think this is going to be. It's interesting because it felt like Tottenham was doing extremely well, and then they absolutely crapped the bed against Bournemouth. And then West Ham was doing extremely badly, and then they shocked Nottingham in the last 10 minutes of that match. So, two teams that are on very polar opposite, really, points coming into this match. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll start with West Ham. They have finally shown signs of life, and lots of it with that late 3-0 victory. I mean, I've been talking about teams who are able to stay in the game, and it seems like they are definitely able to do that. It definitely eases some pressure as well on Graham Potter. Bowen continuing to lead the line with goals and creativity, supported by Paquetá, his vision, and also Wilson and his physical presence. Mateus Fernandez debuted, I think, and he impressed for sure, offered width and clever deliveries from the left side, while the defense looks much more organized than in the opening weeks. I do think West Ham still need to be wary of giving away leads early on, but they now have a much more clear looking attacking identity, and even more so, they have momentum to build on. Not like with Wolves, where they're coming off of three straight losses. West Ham here, their last game was a very good one, and they will be very confident in themselves, I think, that they can continue that run coming into here.
All right. Well, then I'm going to start with some of the injuries. I think they've they've lost Fulkrug for West Ham, and that's gonna bring on Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson, I think, scored actually in that last match, but he is getting up there. He used to be a baller in the Premier League, absolute legend. But I don't know. He's getting up there in age. I don't know how good he's gonna be starting a full 90 for this West Ham squad. And as well, not an injury, but Agard has been lost for West Ham. He's been transferred out, which means Mavropanos will be joining in that center back trio at the back. And unless they change the system to something else, that's going to mean they don't really have any depth whatsoever in the center back position. And so that's quite interesting. I don't know what the plan is. Uh, I don't know what the plan is for West Ham here, but it just seems questionable, man. There's a lot of questionable stuff going on with the squad, and I'm not sure that they're going to be able to stand up to it over a full like 38 game season. They got a I don't want to say shock win because I mean it was Jared Bowen being Jared Bowen. It was they have strong attackers. We know this already, like it's not that unexpected, but I'm quite worried about how sustainable like matches like that can be for them.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly reasonable. And to be fair, they're also going up against a very deep squad from this Big Six team with Tottenham. And Tottenham, though they are recovering from that loss, they remain a technically strong side under Frank. Very deep roster. You've got Richarlison, who has really shown up. I know we talked about the year before the World Cup. He always shows up to games, and he is still spearheading the attack with direct runs, intelligent movement. Matisse Tell stretching the defense from the left and helping create space for other players. Bergval, Odebear providing lots of energy and creativity. to help compensate for the ongoing absences of Madison and Kulu. And I'm just thinking, what is going to happen when those two guys get back? Because honestly, it seems like Tottenham have been playing very well without them, and we know how important they were for Tottenham last season, like if we look at the Europa League run. I think Solanke for this match, his fitness is a bit uncertain. I'd still expect him to be there to lead the line. And so the offense is looking pretty strong. Defensively, also pretty good with Romero still anchoring the back line. I think they will be able to mostly control the game here. They are playing West Ham after all. So the only question for me is whether they can finish their chances. And there's one guy I haven't mentioned yet. Xavi Simon's potentially coming in. And so I think they might just have some better luck up front if that is the case.
Yeah, I think. Well, obviously Xavi Simons is going to be in here. I again, like, this is another one of the situations where the guy probably doesn't start right away, but we will get some solid minutes for them. We have Richarlison obviously continuing to cook. Um, there's a lot going on that looks pretty good for this Tottenham match. I guess it's generally speaking, and I think for me, again, like, this is another one of those games where it's kind of hard to predict what's going to happen because there's so much that's up in the air. Like, there's all these new players. We don't know how they're going to fit in. We don't know if it's going to cause teams to change their formations, change their tactics. So I'm just going to keep it simple here. I think West Ham will probably get a goal because they're going on great form. They're going to come into this match hoping to try to get something out of this. And I think because Tottenham is really defensively disciplined, meaning West Ham can't just easily counter them, and because they just have more players that have more quality, and West Ham still are questionable defensively, I'm just going to say that Tottenham will be able to get the job done. It'll be pretty close of a match, but I think Tottenham will get a 2-1 win.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think West Ham will aim to attack quickly through Bowen and Wilson. Of course, they're coming in with confidence, hoping to get a good result here after that 3-0. And I could honestly see them scoring first, or maybe at least getting like an equalizer after a first Tottenham goal. But yeah, their defense looks pretty questionable. Roster as a whole, pretty questionable. And Tottenham, I think, can remain structured through this whole match, rely on Richarlison and Matisse Tell to stretch West Ham's backline over time, and soon enough the goals will start coming in. They just need to be patient, to be honest. And I think they can score quite a lot here. I want to say they get maybe 1 or 2 goals by 60 minutes or so. Probably the goals will be pretty spread out for them throughout the match. You could have Simons come in as well, make a statement on his debut, perhaps add that final goal to the match. And so I'm going to say Tottenham win it 3-1.
All right, fair enough. That's going to bring us then to our next match, Brentford vs Chelsea.
Yeah, Brentford, another team adjusting to life without a big player. I mean, Mbuemo left, now Wissa's gone, and their early season struggles have shown in both attack and defense. They do remain capable of moments of flair, particularly on the break, but creating clear-cut chances has been very inconsistent. Defensively, they can be vulnerable as well to well-timed runs and good crosses, and their shape often depends on the midfielders covering the wide areas while the forwards press, so again, making them quite vulnerable. Against a team like Chelsea, they're going to need discipline, cohesion, and good energy, and I think a lot of that will be hard to find for them here, and any lapses will be costly against a team like Chelsea that is adept at exploiting mistakes. And with this being their first match of the season against a Big Six team, and Chelsea at that, who has amazing depth. I mean, we've seen how many people they buy every season. West Ham's own squad depth and adaptability will be properly tested here.
Yeah, Brentford's will be properly tested.
Sorry,
Uh,
Brentford.
but anyhow, this is quite interesting because I think we talked about this before, but it's Igor Thiago and Kevin Schad just look so isolated out there on the attack. The only time this doesn't happen is obviously in transition. But at the same time, I'm a bit worried about how Chelsea defends in transition. I mean, they got cooked by Fulham. They got like a pretty, I would say, unfair, to be quite honest, VAR call in their favor that really left them off the hook here. But I'm quite worried for them in that respect. And at the same time, Cole Palmer, who I think is so key to making that offense fluid, to linking them together, to prevent them from just being one guy at a time the offensive team that they were at times last year. He's injured as well. And while yes, you do have a João Pedro who can sort of do that for you, he can drop back. it's sort of like relying on Mateta with Palace. Like I do get a bit concerned when one team is just reliant on their striker to do too much at once.
Yeah, that's fair. Though, again, I will say, even without having Palmer there, Chelsea's obviously got a very strong attack. You still have Joao Pedro, you still have Enzo Fernandez, key to creating chances and converting set pieces. The midfield balance will be crucial. I mean, they've got that double pivot, right? And up front, though, they can definitely exploit Brentford's defensive gaps with the striker duo ready to make. Actually, striker duo, is Delap still off? Actually, I was just thinking.
Delap is off.
Delap is still off. Okay, so not striker duo then, but their forwards can make some very decisive runs into the box. I think just as long as the midfield holds up behind them and the defense holds up, they will be very strong in the dead ball situations. They'll be able to dominate possession here for sure. And yeah, Brentford are going to struggle to find any time on the ball or find any chances for themselves throughout this match, I think.
I mean, I agree with you, and I think like generally speaking, outside of the counter, I don't think Brentford are going to get a lot of chances. Cucurella has been very solid for them, near 60% long ball accuracy. Moises Caicedo has won 67% of his duels. We know the system. Chelsea has the 3-1-6 or 3-2-5, where it's reliant on Caicedo, who is a very strong anchor, and you can have either Cucurella or Gusto push up at the same time. But I'm still worried because I think with that system, it's reliant on somebody in the middle. You can make all the long balls you want to those overlapping fullbacks or to those wingers, but unless you get like a situation for that first goal against PSG where the defender just makes an absolutely horrendous mistake, you can't really. It's hard to break for the last line of defense on that alone, especially with such a defensively minded team like Brentford. So I think Brentford's strategy is to play on the counter, and I'm emphasizing this a lot because I don't want to undercount Brentford's opportunities here, but yeah, I think Chelsea definitely on paper are going to be a lot better. They're probably going to get quite a few more chances. It's just I fear the FL Palmer. We see what we saw last season. What the reason that they aren't real title contenders or were not real title contenders last year was this issue. I think it could potentially be coming back for this match.
Yeah, I mean, Brentford, they have scored one in every game so far. They've been pretty consistent with that. And I think they could manage that here again, find some way onto the score sheet. And yeah, Chelsea are maybe a bit questionable in attack at the moment, especially with the players that they've got missing right now. But they still look menacing going forward. Lots of creativity, lots of finishing threat from players like Pedro, like Fernandez. And like I said earlier, Chelsea will be dictating the rhythm here. Brentford can try to hit on the break, maybe capitalize on a set piece. But Chelsea, I think, will be efficient enough and composed enough in front of goal to decide the outcome. So I'm going to say Brentford will get their goal. They continue their early season trend of scoring once in every match. But this Chelsea side looks sharp enough and clinical enough to get past them. And I'll say they find two and they get a 2-1 win here.
Yeah, I'm going to. This is my crazy prediction. I feel like I've had too many standard predictions. I'm going with a 1-1 draw. I'm just worried about
Okay.
Chelsea's chance finishing. I think Brentford will get a one goal in through that counter, but I do think. I mean, how many times last season, right? Did Chelsea just have this 1-man issue and then they score a goal because fucking I don't know Marco Correa scores from 40 feet out, or they get a set piece, which by the way very realistic because Brentford has not been good at defending aerially
Yeah.
this year. But it could be that that's just the one goal. And if that's just the one goal, I don't think they're going to win the match. Cuz I'm just worried about I'm worried about how they're going to be on the counter, bro. Like Kevin Schade, bro, Igor Thiago, that's they're deadly on the counter. You cannot be disrespecting them.
Fair enough. With that, then we can go to our second last match. We have Burnley, who are looking for another home win after a back and forth start to the season. But of course, they face Liverpool, who intend on keeping their perfect run so far going even further.
Okay, I'm just going to say what I want to say about Liverpool generally speaking and get that out of the way real
Yeah,
quick.
fair. Go
Um
ahead.
Isak, you know, like I said, it could be an issue with Fatigue. I don't really know what's going on, but no one really knows what's going on, obviously. But he's going to probably not start. We're going to have the same situation that I talked about a lot of times before. I don't want to. I'm not going to repeat the same thing over and over again. This is just sort of what happens at the end of a transfer window. Uh, at the same time, you have Soboslai, who is now playing as a right back. I understand that because Connor Bradley and Frimpong are out, but I actually don't think it's that bad of an idea. This is actually something I'm quite interested on your perspective in as a Liverpool fan. But I actually like him at right back. I feel like that makes y'all a lot more defensively solid while not sacrificing too much offensively. Because a guy like Szoboszlai is sort of forced to drop back a lot anyways. I had to just defend in transition in the first place. So I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts on this, but I actually think Liverpool like looks better now.
I mean, yeah, we've been on the front foot so much throughout this season. Like you said, like the midfielders have to drop back quite a bit to make up for the forwards. I think it's not a bad change for now, but yeah, no, I wouldn't keep it. Maybe even just because of the fact that like we spend as much money as we did on Frimpong, and I don't really
Is this
want that
sunk
to go
cost
to
fallacy?
waste. Maybe it is, but it's like I don't want Soboslai just becoming Kukurea covering like every single position and we get nothing out of our new signings. I don't know. It's
Bro,
only been
ever heard of Federico Valverde, bro? He's pretty good.
okay. Okay.
Ever heard of
Fair.
Joshua Kimmich, bro?
I don't
What
know.
you know about
Just
Joshua Kimmich?
give
What you know
give
about
give
James Milner? He's the new James Milner. He's the
James
James Milner of the
James
2020s, my guy.
James
Please
Milner.
give some
I know
respect
he
for
just scored a
Szoboszlai.
pen. James Milner is 39. Do not compare him to Sobo, bro.
I'm talking
Okay,
about prime James. I'm talking about prime James Milner, bro. 2018 James Milner. Show some
but okay,
respect.
but Frimpong's played like 2 games and like 2 friendlies. I say just give him the light of day, man. When he comes back, and I did say at the start of the season or before the season starts that with our roster there are so many tactical possibilities, and so yeah, this has worked out surprisingly well. But I wouldn't keep it around longer than we need to. I think we should give Frimpong the light of day. If it doesn't work out, maybe this layout we've got here is this lineup is a genuine consideration for future games. But yeah, I would not keep Soboslai in right back. I would move him back to the midfield as soon as we reasonably can, once we get the right players on the back line.
Um, yeah, I think I just wanted to say that because there is no analysis that needs to be done for this match, bro. Like Liverpool is going to dominate. They're going to win this match. Burnley has nothing going for them at the level that Liverpool have. So I just think, listen, man, 3-0 win. I don't even know what to say. I actually just want to have a productive conversation about the future of Liverpool with the right back question. I was interested in what you think, and also a little bit about Isak, but that's not going to be too relevant until later. Just wanted to know, but in terms of the actual match itself, I think it's pretty clear cut.
Yeah, the Reds' defense has not been all too solid, as many people have pointed out. And with no Gahey for the for this window, that's not going to get better right away. But what we have got is a stacked front line. That front four, it's got pace, movement, finishing ability that can dismantle most backlines completely. And you've got Curtis Jones and Soboslai for creative support from the midfield. And Burnley, they maybe could grab a goal. I had them maybe going 3-1, and then I realized I think Amdouni is injured, so they have like even less attacking threat. And so given that, I don't think they're gonna find any really great chances at all. And though Liverpool's defense has not looked great so far, to be fair, we've played some pretty decent teams attacking wise, and I just don't think Burnley has got nearly the attacking strength that the teams we have played so far had against us. So I'm going to say as well a 3-0 for Liverpool.
All right, well then that brings us to the marquee matchup, the title card of this week, the Manchester Derby. I mean, it feels like a repeat of last season so far. No, I remember last season when the first Manchester Derby came around. Neither of these teams were doing pretty well. City somewhat recovered, but United didn't, and we're in a similar situation where again, for as bad as United has been, as much in the hot seat as Ruben Amorim has been, City has quietly been doing worse. City's below them in the table right now. So, I mean, these matches are always entertaining. Obviously, City is the favorite. I'm not going to try to oversell United's odds here, but I don't know, man. I feel like these are always bangers. So, you tell me first what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, City, there's still a force in possession, right? Holland is there spearheading a front line that can really stretch any defense. You have Rodri in midfield, Reinders providing creativity, but defensively they have been quite exposed in the wide areas. Fullbacks often get drawn out, center backs are left to cover some unfamiliar space. And quick transitions down the flank have caused them trouble against Brighton and Tottenham. And United's got decent pace on the counter too, so they could test those vulnerabilities again. Turkey is also unavailable, so Guardiola's options for fresh width or rotational burst are more limited here. And that means the onus will be on the starting 11 to maintain intensity and composure for the full 90 minutes. And yeah, I do think they definitely have the edge coming in here as well. I will not overrate Man U's odds here. It is still City versus United we're looking at. But United will make them work for it, for sure.
All right. Well, then I'm gonna just get started real quick. I think so. Cunha's most likely gonna be out. I think there's no Mount as well, so that really brings a new tackle system that's more reminiscent of last year than this year for United at least. Fernandez is probably gonna be pushed up again, and with him and Embuemo, I think Fernandez has had 4 key passes a game, Embuemo 3. They're gonna be giving plenty of balls up top to. I mean, I guess Chesko sort of has to start now, right? There's no other guy you can put there. Hoyland's left as well, by the way, in case people are not aware. So yeah, I think it's going to be quite interesting. I think this might actually be closer to how you want to end up lining up. I know you spent all this money on 3 attackers, but I'm starting to wonder maybe Fernandez is better up there rather than having to defend as a number 8. That's just not his natural position. But anyhow, that's going to be quite interesting for this match. But at the same time, at least for United, I'm sticking on them for now. I still have questions about their fullbacks, or I guess wingbacks would be how to describe them. It seems like Emirates still does not have that sorted out, and it seems that's going to make it a lot more difficult to exploit that weakness that City have defensively. And I'm still very worried about the backline. It feels like Delit and Euro are finally playing up to their level. They're finally working together. But Luke Shaw is just such a weak link out there, man. I don't know. Maybe it feels like every time there's a cross in that Luke Shaw should be dealing with, he just doesn't deal with it. Like Luke Shaw has probably caused at least 2 goals that United have conceded this season so far in the Prem, maybe more. So I don't know, man. There's plenty of ways to attack them if you're City.
Yeah, both these teams honestly look pretty questionable right now. United, they thrive in chaos, as their win over Burnley showed. Or even if you look back to a game like, I don't know, second leg versus Lyon, right? This is how this team plays. They get goals out of frantic sequences and defensive errors. But Man City is still a pretty composed team. They have had trouble, but their like backline is not bad by any means. And United's forward line is without Cunha, who would have helped them a lot in stretching City's back line. And so that's going to be an issue for them. And then we look at United's defense as well. They still struggle to maintain shape under sustained pressure, especially against wide overloads. They've got good counter-attacking threat, this team, but yeah, there is a lot of danger on the back line for United. And this is a game where I think they will largely be chasing. They will be looking for goals because I just don't think the back line will quite hold up, especially not against City, who have got a great front line to match.
Yeah. Obviously City still have key players. I think Marmoush is out. There's a few players that are going to be missing for them. But I mean, you have Reindeers, Silva, Bob, Doku. You still have like I think Rodri has averaged like 11 long balls and crosses so far from him coming back. So he's back to prime form clearly. Yeah, I mean City have a lot of weapons for attack, and I just say I still think that because of United's question marks defensively, I think City will probably just be able to get more chances, and they'll probably just be able to, based on individual brilliance, be able to dominate this match. I would say. The other question, actually, I mentioned this earlier, is that Saint Lemans is the new keeper that for United. They actually finally have someone who might be good. Don't want to oversell it because a lot of keepers that should have been good for them have ended up not. So I'll stay. I'll try to. I'll stay neutral on this for now, but it's going to be a very difficult opening game for him against City. So if he concedes like 4 or 5 goals, I feel like United fans are going to immediately go for his head, but that might not even necessarily equate to a bad game. That's the dilemma that I'm looking at.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, lots of injuries, roster changes. Honestly, this was a very hard game for me to call. Um, and you're coming back from international break too, so I can't say. I do think City will win. I'll say that, I can't say how much they're going to score because they've had issues scoring so far. I think it will be a pretty hard fought contest. United, even if they don't get many chances, they will definitely be fighting for them for the whole game. But yeah, City, they look dangerous going forward, even without Cherky. You still have Haaland there. His duel with De Ligt could decide the game. If he gets free in those pockets, City can strike early. Rodri's got control in midfield, and that'll be crucial to limit Fernandes. And Reinders offers City extra movement to really pull United's defensive lines apart. I think United will be compact initially, but City's quality in possession will tip the balance. And I'm going to say they actually edge it 2-1. But I do think City will get a lot of chances here, and though it will be only a win by 1 goal, I don't think it'll be especially uncomfortable for City here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think logically speaking, this shouldn't be that high scoring, but just because for whatever goddamn reason, every single Manchester derby seems to be really high scoring nowadays, I'm gonna go for City 3-1 win. But I think,
Okay.
like, I think it should be. I think that does feel a little bit unreasonable, but just based on historical precedent, I feel like I have to do that.
Yeah, no, it could be very high scoring if City manages to get their attack together. Because, like I said, the backlines of both these teams are looking pretty questionable. But if there is a team that is able to take advantage of that more, it is going to be Man City. But yeah, with that said, that's the Manchester derby covered. A surprisingly early derby here, I think. And yeah, that concludes match week 4. So I guess I'll be putting up all
Yeah.
the predictions. We'll have that on the border. And it's nice, honestly, getting back to the Prem after the international break. Some very exciting matches, though, to be fair, with the internationals. Did you see the Colombia game yesterday, by any chance?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was man. I'm glad I'm not. Dude. I'm just
6-3.
saying
Wow.
we absolutely broke them. Canada broke Venezuela after Copa America when we beat them on penalties. They have not been the same since, and they have fumbled what should have probably been an automatic qualification spot to now no longer even to just being absolutely eliminated to freaking Bolivia of all teams, by the way, who stole their spot. So
I just want
absolute
to
drama in
Yeah.
CONMEBOL.
I just want to throw a stout out here real quick because I was watching the goals from Colombia and I saw Luis and I thought for a second it might be Luis Diaz, but no, it was Luis Suarez, Colombia's Luis Suarez. And so his 4 goals in a CONMEBOL qualifier is the highest total in one game since Uruguayan Luis Suarez, his namesake, back in 2011. So 14 years later, we have another Luis Suarez matching that record, and it is at the detriment of Venezuela, who, like you said, rarely have fallen off since their loss to us, and losing the qualifier to Bolivia on the last match day. Yikes.
Dude, and Bolivia winning at home against fucking Brazil at the elevation, and also it's Miguelito. It's always fucking Miguelito, bro. I swear, this motherfucker is possessed. Whatever, when it's 4,000 feet or higher elevation, Miguelito is fucking possessed. I know it was a penalty, but this guy was balling out of his mind. I swear, every game that was at home, this man always balled out of his mind, and then he absolutely ghosted whenever they were away.
True. I am excited for the playoff to see what they have in store there. But yeah, I guess for now, until we get back to internationals, we will have lots more Prem to cover. So for everyone who has watched up to this point, thank you. And we will be back for sure next week with another video on the next set of Premier League matches. So do stay tuned for that.
All right,
Yeah.
see ya.
Have a good one.